My name is Blanche and I was 15 years old when my mother abandoned me at the airport. I still remember the sound of the airport, the rolling suitcases, loud announcements, and the faint smell of burnt coffee drifting from nearby stalls. It was early morning, one of those gray, lifeless hours when everything feels suspended. I was supposed to be going on a family trip, a vacation where we would laugh, explore, and bond. But standing by the security line, suitcase clutched in trembling hands, I watched my mother hand a wad of cash to the airport staff and walk away. Without looking back. $200. That was all I got. I called out to her, once, twice, again and again. Her designer handbag swung at her side. She glanced over her shoulder briefly, eyes cold and indifferent, and kept walking. Through the metal detectors, past the glass doors, gone. The security line swallowed them. I stood frozen. The airport continued around me. Families laughing, hugging, waving goodbye. But it might as well have been a different planet. I was alone. I didn't even have a key to the apartment. Before that day, life had been far from perfect, but it was ours. Our apartment was small. The paint peeled in corners, and the carpet had holes worn down by years of use. But everything in it smelled of home, food, laundry soap, love. My mother wasn't wealthy. She worked hard. Waitressing at a local diner during the day, cleaning office buildings at night. But she always smiled when she saw me. Weekend trips to the park were our escape. We packed peanut butter sandwiches, apples, and chips, and set off on worn bicycles. At the swings, she'd push me higher until my stomach fluttered with excitement. "Higher, Mommy! Higher!" I shouted. She laughed and complied, her eyes twinkling. Birthdays were a homemade affair. For my 6th birthday, she baked me a chocolate cake that sloped awkwardly to one side. The icing wasn't perfect, but it tasted like love. She cut paper streamers from wrapping paper scraps and decorated the walls. We danced to music from her phone, blowing balloons until they burst, squealing with delight. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Everything started to crumble when I turned 8. One day, I came home from school expecting my mother's embrace, but instead, I found her sitting stiffly on the couch with my father across from her. The air was heavy. Neither smiled. They told me they were getting a divorce. Sometimes adults stop loving each other, my mother said with a detached tone, like it was a minor detail. My world shattered. I asked questions. Where would I live? Would I still see my dad? Why couldn't they stay together? Her eyes flicked to mine briefly before she looked away. That night, I lay awake clutching my stuffed rabbit as their muffled arguments leaked through the walls. Tears soaked my pillow as I cried myself to sleep. At first, weekends with my father were joyful. We went out for burgers, played video games, and laughed at silly jokes. But gradually, visits dwindled. Every other weekend became once a month. Then even less. Phone calls grew awkward, then brief, then non-existent. By the time I was 10, he had vanished from my life, replaced by silence. My mother told me he didn't care. "He's busy," she'd say. I wanted to believe her, but somewhere deep inside, I knew it wasn't true. Everything changed again when I was 13. My mother began talking about a man named Richard. He was rich. Polished. Smooth. "He's generous," she'd gush, eyes sparkling. "He tips extra, he asks for my section." For the first time in years, she seemed alive. I wanted to be happy for her, but something in me recoiled. Within months, he proposed. A massive diamond ring flashed on her hand like a movie prop. "Before you know it, we'll have a new life," she smiled. We moved into his mansion. The house was enormous. Marble floors gleamed under recessed lighting. Expensive art adorned the walls. "Where's my passport?" I asked. "It's in my purse," she said, barely looking at me. I should have left then. At the airport, the boarding passes confirmed it. I wasn't on the list. Only 5 boarding passes were handed out. My name was missing. When I pointed it out, Richard's face hardened. "Your mother will explain," he said. She led me to a quiet corner, slid $200 into my hand, and whispered, "You'll be fine. You're mature." I begged. I cried. I shouted. But she turned away. Their heels clicked on the airport floor as they vanished into security, without me. I spent hours at the airport, watching families wave goodbye, staring at empty boarding gates, and wondering if I had been erased. When I returned home, despair engulfed me. But then I found the truth. Hidden letters from my father. Receipts proving monthly child support payments. Court documents showing his attempts to petition for custody, denied at every turn. The evidence was overwhelming. My mother hadn't struggled. She'd lied. She'd kept me isolated to fit into a world she desperately wanted. I sat surrounded by these papers, numb and broken, realizing I had been deliberately severed from the one person who cared. The days that followed were dark. I wanted to scream, burn pictures, and lash out. But something inside me hardened. I realized my worth wasn't dependent on anyone's approval. With the help of a therapist, friends, and eventually my father, I rebuilt my life. I set boundaries. I learned to trust slowly. I found love in unexpected places, not because I craved it, but because I chose it. Years later, I stand proud, not because I forgot the past, but because I faced it head-on. If you've ever been left behind, forgotten, ignored, know this. You are not defined by others' failure to care. Family is more than blood. It's the people who show up, who prioritize you, who love you unconditionally. Your past doesn't control you. It shapes you. You are stronger than you know. If this story touched you, like and subscribe for more stories about resilience, healing, and the power to choose your own path. Share your experience in the comments. Your story matters. You are never as alone as you feel.